This video came out today by Dane, Calloway, and I really think it's very important to check out what he says about reparations. So, fair use.
Intelligence has become, particularly when combined with Hollywood quality masks that can look incredibly realistic with minimum makeup and some AI generated effects in images and films.
He's talking about how image shapes a narrative. And what have we been taught?
Not everything is always what it appears to be. Similarly, not everything you learned in compulsory educational institutions was entirely accurate or the complete truth. The only way to navigate this is by taking control of the aspects over which you should have authority, such as the narrative about your people that others may portray to the world. This narrative shapes who you are, what you represent, and your history. It is important to challenge the perceptions that might depict you as victims of systematic issues rooted in white supremacy. You have to question everything. For example, the issue of slavery and reparations in the United States arises from the profound and lasting impact of American slavery. This legacy continues to influence the financial and civil experiences of so-called Black Americans today. Since 1989, so-called Black Americans have raised this issue with the United States Congress and have addressed it in many of their political campaigns. However, there seems to be an ongoing barrier that prevents a resolution that all Americans can agree upon. But what if that's the issue at hand? That's causing the delay or pause in fighting the resolution. Why should all Americans be required to reach a consensus on a solution that holds the United States government accountable for its past actions, which continue to have a significant impact today? Shouldn't they hold themselves accountable for this matter and resolve it like any other issue happening in America? Listen, we observed the establishment of reparations, study commissions, task force, and proposals aimed at addressing this ongoing issue. However, a consistent pattern emerges. These efforts are often rejected by governors and lawmakers. For example, recently in Maryland, lawmakers attempted to pass a reparations bill.
Talk about it.
I will play a series of videos so we can examine the timeline of events that unfolded, allowing you to witness the pattern before I inform you of it.
Yes, get a witness.
In the meantime, state lawmakers voted to create a reparations commission in Maryland, an issue which has been heavily debated. As the bill goes to the governor's desk, Governor Moore isn't making his stance clear. Fox 45's Jessica Babb is showing us where that bill stands.
As the legislative session comes to a close and a bill to create a reparations commission heads to Governor Wes Moore's desk.
We have hundreds of bills.
The question now, will he sign it into law?
I have to go through, and I will go through diligently, all of the different bills that are in front of me.
The bill, which passed both chambers, will create a commission to study and recommend reparations for those impacted by slavery and those who feel the lingering effects of racial discrimination in the state. Reparations, which could include financial payments.
And this is not a conversation about paying people today, but it is a conversation about what are the appropriate remedies, but also what are the nexuses to the historical pieces of legislation or the historical policies that were put in place in the same halls that we serve in today that had that negative impact. We have a duty to remedy those.
What just passed in Maryland is similar to what's passed in other states like California, Illinois, and New York. All of them are volunteer-based commissions where people aren't paid, including in Maryland, even though those on the commission could still be reimbursed for their expenses. In California, in 2024, $12 million was budgeted for reparations.
And we had a surplus.
The concern of how do we pay for it here in Maryland, especially given the state's financial challenges.
How do we pay for it? I think that's a conversation for another day.
With some Republican lawmakers sounding off.
And I question whether using taxpayer money would ever be appropriate in this context. Even going back to when reparations were paid to survivors of the Holocaust, they went after companies. that were involved, not
The United States is a
Isn't
corporation.
making his position clear, not saying if he plans to sign the bill or let it become law without his signature.
There is no doubt that the impact of slavery is still continues to be felt on the people of this state, the northernmost southern state in the entire country. But I also know that I've got hundreds of bills that I still have yet to go through, and when I look through it through a lens of making sure that we are being fiscally disciplined and responsible in this moment and investing in our people, that's how I'll make the decision about which bills get my signature.
Now, it's essential to note that the governor of Maryland was required to sign the bill for it to become law. However, he surprisingly vetoed it. Watch this.
That's right, and that veto was one of 23 the governor announced late this afternoon. In a letter to the Senate president about his decision, Governor Moore said instead of a study, he wants to see immediate action to address racial disparities. He said given the extensive research already conducted over the past 25 years, Governor Moore believes another study is unnecessary. Instead, he emphasized the need to narrow the racial wealth gap, expand home ownership, and uplift entrepreneurs of color. Moore said he plans to introduce a package of policies in the next legislative session to further those goals. The bill, which proposed creating the Maryland Reparations Commission, proposed various forms of reparations, including financial compensation and tuition waivers.
Of color.
By the Maryland Black Caucus.
Doesn't mean
veto,
freedmen.
Quote, while I appreciate the work that went into this legislation, I strongly believe now is not the time for another study. Now is the time for continued action that delivers results for the people we serve.
Now, many people find it difficult to understand why he is vetoing the bill. Do you believe he has a valid reason for rejecting this reparations bill? Some of your thoughts about this part in the comments below. Now, in his statement, he is quoted as saying that he believes now is not the time for another study. Now, while I agree with him on this point, his subsequent explanation raises questions. He claims now is the time for continued action that delivers results for the people we serve. This phrase is frequently used by political figures when they signal that reparations are not on their agenda. He and his officials seem unwilling to engage in conversations about reparations in Maryland, as he does not see a reason to allocate local government funding to address its historical role in American history. This stance is particularly frustrating given that he acknowledges the issue exists for a reason. What do you think that reason is? Here's what the mayor of Maryland had to say about it.
Yeah, the Legislative Black Caucus is urging Maryland's Senate President and House Speaker to override the governor's veto. The bill would create a commission to recommend different types of reparations, including via money, tax rebates, or tuition waivers for those Maryland residents who had enslaved ancestors. Moore vetoed that bill on Friday, breaking from many other Democratic governors who had passed similar legislation. When Mayor Scott was asked for his reaction at a news conference this morning, he said that much of the wealth in this country can be traced back to slave labor.
Whether the Speaker and the Senate President go for override, that's up for them to determine, not for me. I've never done that, even for a bill of mine that was vetoed in the past. I won't do that to them. But what I will say is that this country has to acknowledge that the impacts of slavery still are present today. And for me, I think that conversation should be had at the federal level.
Governor Moore, meanwhile, says he'll move forward with his own proposals to address these goals and says he'll make an announcement about closing the racial wealth gap on Juneteenth.
So it sounded good, but only when it's convenient politically. Yeah, so let's not raise hell about this ongoing issue until a federal holiday is present and everybody can make it a big celebration instead of the government holding itself accountable. Yeah, it sounds like the pattern is there. Wouldn't you agree? Now, can we all get on the same page and create our own? Let's not pretend that I didn't highlight the main issue. Additionally, I would like to offer another perspective on why the government may be hesitant to take accountability and action. regarding so-called Black American slavery. It could be that the approach being taken is not the most effective one. To make a significant impact, it is essential to address the economic issues that caused this dysfunction from the beginning. I previously talked about the misclassifications in this video here.
Okay, continue this video and check out Dane Calloway's channel.
People have taken labels that